Good afternoon from New York. We're coming on the air with breaking news.
Other big stories, the King of Pop has died.
Diana, Princess of Wales, has been killed in a car accident.
Kurt Cobain, the leader of one of rock's most gifted and promising bands, Nirvana, is dead, and this is the story as we know it so far.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dead Famous Pod, where we delve into what really happened to our stars allegedly. So today I actually want to talk about the story of Cassie Ventura. So you may have heard of the movie It Ends With Us. It's just come out. It's starring Blake Lively, and it's really started this topic in society, this conversation of DV. Now, I do want to put a bit of a trigger warning before this episode. I will be touching on domestic violence and going into all of that. So the movie It Ends With Us was actually a book to begin with by Colleen Hoover. Now, spoiler alert, in this movie, it's about a relationship with this guy and this girl. All seems normal. It seems like a love story, but it turns out he actually ends up assaulting her quite a few times, and how the main character has to deal with that and what her decisions are going forward. So I just thought, in light of this conversation that's happening, I really want to talk about it because domestic violence is a topic that means a lot to me personally. I feel like it's a topic that we've made really taboo in society. People don't like talking about it. They get uncomfortable, but it's these uncomfortable conversations that we have that make breakthroughs happen. And I think this is one where breakthroughs really need to start happening because, quite honestly, just too many people are dying. We can't keep going on like this. It can't keep progressing and getting worse. So yeah, we just have to start stepping up and doing something. And hopefully this episode and this story can shed light on how we can help people in those situations. I was discussing the movie It Ends With Us with a few friends of mine, and it really was an eye-opener, that conversation into what people think. Because this guy made a comparison between the movie It Ends With Us, like I said, it's about domestic violence, and the movie 50 Shades of Grey. Now, if you know the difference between these two movies, you know they are nothing alike. But if you don't, 50 Shades of Grey is about BDSM type stuff, sexual choices that people make and things they are into. So again, I'm pretty sure this guy needs conversation on consent for a start, but moving on from that, they are two totally separate things. And it really opened my mind to how people can shift the blame to victims. So that's something I've never really understood before, of why there's so much victim blaming. I never knew where people were coming from with that. But now I get a sense of what people are thinking and how they start to blame the victims. It's really just made me be like, oh my God, let's talk about this and break through those stigmas, because that's what needs to end in order for us to help. So anyway, moving on to the story here of Cassie Ventura. So if you're not familiar with her, she's a singer. She has dabbled in a few movies, but she's mainly a singer. She had quite a few big hits in the early 2000s. So if you're a 90s girly like me, you are very well aware with her. There were such big artists at the time like Cassie and Pussycat Dolls and Rihanna. She's kind of in that vibe. But there were 3 hits specifically that were just huge. Me and You, Long Way to Go, and Official Girl. Again, if you're like me, my MySpace song was Long Way to Go for like months. It was just the vibe of that era. Anyway, she has done a few other collabs recently. She did one around 2012-ish with Nicki Minaj. So yeah, she's pretty big, safe to say. And then she was in a 10-ish, roughly year relationship with Diddy. Now, if you don't know who Diddy is, you might have heard of him. He used to go by Puff Daddy. His real name is Sean Diddy Combs. Now, he is a pretty big-time producer. He even won the world record for most famous rap producer in 1997. He's pretty big-time, and he's only gotten bigger and bigger since then. So he actually discovered artists such as Notorious B.I.G., Mary J. Blige, and actually even Usher. He's won 3 Grammy Awards, and if you know the song I'll Be Missing You, I feel like everyone knows that song. He worked on that. He's also done the song I Need a Girl and Tell Me with Christina Aguilera. Just delving into their relationship, Cassie and Diddy met in 2005 when she was 19 and he was roughly 36 years old, so already alarm bells. But they reportedly didn't start dating until 2007, so she would have been, 21, which I believe in America is age of adulthood. However, red flags. According to the media, they had quite a turbulent relationship and ended up breaking in October of 2018. And jumping to 2023, Cassie actually filed a lawsuit against Diddy, claiming that he raped and abused her throughout their relationship. The lawsuit alleged that Cassie was trapped in their relationship in a, quote, cycle of abuse. She says that Diddy allegedly had a complete control over her personal and professional life to ensure her, quote, inability to escape his hold. It is important to note that Diddy actually denied the claim, and the lawsuit was settled the very next day. Cassie released a statement saying she decided to resolve the matter on terms that she has some level of control, and that was that. Now, there was some allegations following this, just about people who said that Diddy had abused them in the past. So it is also important to note again that Diddy always denied these allegations. He even released a statement saying, and quote, "Sickening allegations have been made against me by individuals looking for a quick payday. Let me be absolutely clear. I did not do any of the awful things being alleged. I will fight for my name, my family, and my truth." So now I'm just going to get into some of the allegations that were being alleged against Diddy. So one of them was by April Lamprose. She alleges that she met Diddy in 1994 while she was a student at New York Fashion Institute of Technology, and that he had abused her. And then there was former model Crystal McKinney, who alleged that Diddy both drugged and sexually assaulted her back in 2003. Following that, there was producer Rodney Jones, who alleged that Diddy regularly hosted sex trafficking parties and forced him to engage in sexual activities with sex workers that Diddy had hired. Following that, there was an anonymous woman who actually filed a lawsuit against Diddy, who alleged gang rape in 2003. Actually, I do need to note all of these were in a lawsuit. And then there was Joey Dickerson Neal, who alleged in her lawsuit that Diddy drugged and assaulted her and also secretly recorded it while she was a college student in 1991. And then last but not least, there was another anonymous plaintiff who alleged that he had raped her in the early 1990s. So a lot of these allegations are in the 90s, early 2000s era. As you can tell, it was just in 2023 when Cassie did bring this lawsuit against him that everything started coming to light. Anyway, his statement saying that he did none of these things really did not age well, because in May of 2024, there was some hotel CCTV footage released at the Intercontinental Hotel in LA that literally shows Diddy attacking Cassie. So you can go and Google that video if you want. I found it on the internet pretty quickly. I'm not going to post it for obvious reasons. However, trigger warning, in the video you can see Diddy dragging Cassie across the floor and grabbing her by the neck. So it's quite an upsetting video to see, and obviously only watch that if you feel like you're in a mentally well enough place to do so. He wanted to be part of it. Say hi. Say hi. Okay, anyway, so the LA District Attorney Office actually said that they were unable to charge Diddy because of the time lapse since the alleged incidents for prosecution. So I guess in America they do have limitations on time frames, which is one of the many things that really pisses me off about DV and any cases like this, because I just think, how can you put a timeline on when someone's ready to talk about it? A lot of the time it does take other victims speaking out for people to speak up because they feel like they have that support. So I just think that's one of the things about the law that needs to change. But anyway, that's just my personal opinion. 2 days after the hotel footage was released on May 19th, Diddy posted a selfie video on his Instagram apologizing. He says he's gone to rehab and is, quote, committed to being a better man each and every day. Like, that may be the case, but what happened happened. So Like I said before, domestic violence is a major issue that happens around the world. Again, the World Health Organization reported that 1 in 3 women around the world have been subjected to either physical or sexual violence from an intimate partner in their lifetime. I really don't believe in any situation that you should be fearing for your life or for your safety while you're with your partner. That person should be your safe space. So in Australia, 1 woman is killed every 11 days and 120 people a week are hospitalized due to domestic violence. We actually rank 8th in the world for our DV against women. Obviously, something has to change. There's a lot of manipulation tactics used in these relationships, which I don't think the general public understand. Unfortunately, these people grab hold of the things that they know are getting to you, and they just use that to manipulate and keep you under duress, basically. And also, a lot of these situations, people are stuck financially. There's so many different reasons. There's kids involved. The list goes on. So we as a society really need to stop being so judgmental towards victims in this situation, because honestly, if we don't, more people are just going to keep on dying. Cassie did end up releasing a statement regarding the abuse, which I'll post on my Instagram account at deadfamousapod. You'll be able to find it in full there. But I'm just going to break it down 2 sentences. I'm going to take 2 sentences from it and talk about those. So the first one I want to talk about is, she says in her statement, "Domestic violence is the issue. It broke me down to someone I never thought I would become. With a lot of hard work, I am better today, but I will always be recovering from my past." The blame can never be shifted to the victim. As Cassie says in her statement, DV is the issue. There are always people trying to excuse it, justify it, find a reason behind it. But all that really is irrelevant, because violence is never the answer, period. And neither is emotional abuse, coercive tactics to keep someone in a relationship. All of that stuff, like I've just said, if you fear for your well-being or you feel trapped, you need to try to get out of there. So that brings me to the second little snippet of Cassie's statement I want to talk about. So I'm going to read it out first. She says, "My only ask is that everyone open your heart to believing victims the first time. It takes a lot of heart to tell the truth out of a situation that you were powerless in. Reach out to your people and don't cut them off." Now, this is really important, because one part of this statement cannot happen without the other. In the last part where she says, "Reach out to your people and don't cut them off," that part cannot exist without those supportive people believing victims for the first time once they tell them, or anything like that. So when someone's trapped in a relationship, they're already worried about fear of judgment and things like that, and not being believed. So if you're a person who's even giving any indication that you're kind of questioning a bit, then the victim is going to be more trapped in that situation, which may arise into a really dangerous place for them. Now, I'm not telling you ever to step in a potentially dangerous situation that's going to be dangerous for you or the victim. Definitely don't do that. However, there's situations where you can isolate your loved one and talk to them by themselves. Like, figure this out and say, what can we do to help? Like, how can we support you? And let that person tell you. And as Cassie says, believe them. The other thing I do just quickly want to touch on as well is a little bit of toxic masculinity that goes on regarding these relationships, is when men see their mates doing something a little bit up and they just turn a blind eye. Now, I am not saying that men are always the perpetrators. It's not the case at all. Unfortunately, there are always times when men are the victims themselves and women are the perpetrators, or whatever the case. Anyone can be. But a pattern that I just personally have noticed, it's mainly the men who protect their mates. And I don't know why that is. Like, I don't understand that thought of, oh, I'm just going to turn a blind eye and protect my mate, because imagine if something even worse happens. Like, what, you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. You don't know how bad he is behind closed doors. And if you're seeing and witnessing whatever it is that you're witnessing, how much worse can it get when no one's there? Now, this actually leads me to going back to that time in Cassie's life after she had left Diddy. So she actually met her future husband pretty quickly. He was her personal trainer, and it all turned out she had a happy ending, thank God. She had a baby with her husband. She's actually had 2 babies now, and her husband released a statement after the hotel footage was put out and all of that, and his statement included, "Men who hit women aren't men. Men who enable it and protect those people aren't men. As men, violence against women should not be inevitable. Check your brothers, your friends, and your family." Now, this is exactly what I'm talking about. It is so true, and he's so right that violence against women should not be inevitable. And again, not saying it's always against women, but unfortunately, the statistics show that the majority of the time it is. But either way, we need to not protect our friends and call them out on their shitty behavior. Thank God for Cassie. She had her happy ever after with her husband, Alex Fine, and their 2 beautiful babies. But yeah, this is pretty much it. I'm not going to keep ranting at you. So I'll get into my movie recommendation now, which is obviously It Ends With Us. I will say, like I said, it's not a completely accurate representation of a domestic violence relationship, in my opinion. Like, okay, there might be some like that, but spoiler alert, what I wasn't that impressed with is that the guy does just basically let her go when she wants to. Probably not an accurate representation of a DV relationship because, like I've said before, half of it is kind of these coercive tactics and they don't want to let you go. Again, not everyone, but the majority of those situations, it can be a really dangerous situation. So really reach out to other people for support to help you get out of there. I would never really recommend trying to do it on your own. Try to lean on other people. Now, if you don't have friends and family around you, that is completely fine. There was always supportive services in every single area around you, and always contact your local police if worse comes to worse and you just don't know who to call. So I'm going to shut up now, but I do just want to quickly talk to the people who think it's okay to protect their friends. I'm just going to leave you with one question and then I'll shut up, I promise. So my question is, that person that you're sus about or you've witnessed shitty behavior happening, are you really willing to live with the guilt if that person really does end up hurting their partner or worse, actually killing them? It's just something to think about and consider. Like, what's more important to you? That keeping some friendship that maybe is not even really that great, or actually potentially saving someone's life?